What is the best summer 2021 anime? Many of you have been asking what my favorite shows of the season are, and as those of you who have been following me on TikTok for a while now know, I have fantastic taste in anime. No one has ever disagreed with my anime opinions. All of my opinions are not hot takes, they are the coldest takes. So I thought, what better way to give you my top picks of the season than with a very biased tier list? This is gonna go over great. I'll be including timestamps for all 12 or 13 anime I talk about today, but I would still appreciate it if you watch the whole thing. I'm pretty sure a lot of these are gonna surprise you. The Duke of Death and his Maid. It's an ugly show. Characters move very awkwardly and the expressions can just be off at times. It's a prime example of underdeveloped CGI being used a little too early, but ignoring the atrocious art style, I really liked it. And no, it's not because of the ugly CGI fan service. Cursed by a witch as a child, a young duke gains the unfortunate attribute of killing every living thing he touches. While most of the townspeople and his family ostracize him, there's one woman who stays by his side always. His kinda down bad maid Alice. As someone who is easily frustrated by love stories that don't progress, I thought I'd hate this show. I mean, they can't even touch or she will literally die. However, I ended up really enjoying this one. It shows that you can tell the story of two people that really love each other without utilizing physical affection. That being said, just cause you can't touch don't mean you can't tease. In an attempt to show her affection and get him to open up, she gives the audience a fair bit of the aforementioned CGI fan service. Still, the Duke of Death and his Maid sits comfortably in my A tier. The detective is already dead. Imagine this, you're watching a show with the name where you're literally told that the detective is already dead. And what do? If you're me, you fall in love with the detective. The detective is already dead follows the wacky journeys of Siesta and her trusty sidekick Watson. Or so, I was hoping that was how it would go. I loved the banter between these two, and I was looking forward to seeing more of it throughout the series. But I was somehow shocked to find out that, the detective was, well, dead in the second episode. Who would have guessed, honestly? While episode 2 was still enjoyable, it didn't hit the same highs as the pilot episode. That being said, the story taking a different direction may lead to an entertaining series. I just think I had my hopes up a little too high that I'd be seeing more of Siesta throughout the series through flashbacks or something, I don't know. The detective is already dead with Siesta as an A tier, afterwards it falls to a B tier. Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid S. Initially, I couldn't really see the excitement for the show. I mean, it has an 8.5 on my anime list, which honestly still seems a little high to me. However, after watching the first episode of Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid S, I now understand the hype for Kyoto Animation. I mean, this animation is stunning. The show is a fantasy slice of life about a girl and her dragon friends, so no one would have expected the action scenes to be as well choreographed as they are. They definitely did not need to go this hard, yet they did. Their passion for the project truly shines through on this one. As for the story, it's as witty as ever. It's progressed far from the original focus, allowing each of its large cast of characters to shine. I will say, the humor isn't exactly my favorite. Except for this man, he is perfectly written, 10 out of 10. Overall, I do think the show's a little overhyped, but I'll still knock it into A tier. Love Live Superstars. Am I just old? I saw that quite a few people enjoyed this installment of the Love Live series, but this one just didn't do it for me. Sure, it's cute and it accomplishes what it wants to do well, but I mean, it's school idol shenanigans. One of them is super bubbly and enthusiastic, one of them doesn't want to join and has to be convinced. Shocker plot points here. It's wholesome, it's cute, whatever. I'm probably just cranky, but for me, this show's going up in my C tier. Sonny Boy. Too big brain for me. S tier. What, you thought I was gonna give you well thought out analyses on all of these shows? Nah, fuck you. Just kidding, please sub. Ring that bell, all that good stuff. Nighthead 2041. I was surprised by how much I like this show. Based in a futuristic version of Japan that bans all worship and coverage on anything otherworldly, this story centers around two sets of brothers. The supernatural Kirihara brothers, who escaped from a scientific facility, and the Kuroki brothers, who are attempting to restrain them. I've only seen the first episode, but it really did draw me in. It's got a cool cyberpunk aesthetic to it, and unlike the Duke of Death and his butler, the CGI is actually quite good. In just a single episode, they managed to get me invested in both sides of the conflict, which is also pretty impressive. I'm excited to see where this one goes. B tier, but it could easily move up later in the season. Remake. After a water polo accident leaves him in a coma for nearly a year, Minato vows to quit the sport entirely. I will admit, this was a refreshing take on the sports genre, and watching Minato's family continue to cope with his accident brought a tear to my eye. There's potential for this show to become a great sports anime, as it doesn't just focus on the sport itself. However, as I'm someone who doesn't enjoy sports anime and couldn't care less about water polo, I probably won't continue this one. As I previously said, this is a biased tier list. Definitely not a bad show, C tier for me, but almost definitely higher for everyone else. Mother of the Goddesses Dormitory. 12 years old. 12! My boy is 12! I cannot comment on this one. Literally, if I ever want to sponsor, it's in my best interest to skip over this one entirely. If you're that interested in it, here's a screenshot of the synopsis from my anime list. Shota is one of those categories I have never understood. Congratulations, Mother of Goddesses Dormitory. You're this season's equivalent of Spring's Higehiro or Winter's Rito Healer, and you've been entered into the SWAYNAMI blacklist for making content on. It might be funny, but I'm not getting canceled over this show. Fifth Amendment tier. Urumichi-Oniisan. I don't remember the full name and I didn't write it down. Give me a second to look it up. Okay, it's called Life Lessons with Urumichi-Oniisan. Honestly, this is how I imagine influencers are in the real world. Lively for the camera, yet dead on the inside. Umarichi is done with his job and done with life. While he's a hit on TV, he scares the children on set with his nihilistic remarks. That's basically the entire plot right now. It's a decent show. However, I've only watched 2 episodes and the show already feels repetitive. Kids segment, cut to self-deprecating remark. Kids segment, self-deprecating remark. Cut to the actors all speaking to each other, back to the kids segment. Rinse and repeat for 20 minutes. For now, it gets a respectable B tier, but I could see this falling lower if it doesn't change. Spirit Chronicles. This is the one isekai I decided to check out this season, and I'm glad I did. The story begins with Haruto, a young man who is dead set on reuniting with his childhood friend. That is, until he gets isekai'd within the first minute of the show. We then shift to Ryo, a young boy living within the slums of a fantasy land. While it does still hit a lot of the same beats as similar shows, the series does seem like it'll be a refreshing break from the typical isekai. I especially enjoyed the fact that he retains some of his previous memories. I feel like this will create some interesting points of conflict that I look forward to watching. Keep in mind, I like SAO a lot, so I'm probably biased towards isekai. A tier. Girlfriend, time to annoy some people. This show is peak, and no, I am not joking. My boy Noria is in a perfectly fine relationship with Saki. What's her last name? Oh, it's Saki. Her name is Saki. Just makes this show even better, honestly. Anyways, their relationship is going strong until he gets asked out by another woman. Instead of following the beta route of rejecting her, he asks his current girlfriend if he can date them both like a Chad. And despite them being 15, they're 15. They end the first episode living together like a true harem. This show is trashy in all the best ways. It is absolutely ridiculous, has no substance, and yet is up there for my favorite anime of the season. If you set your expectations properly, I believe it could be a really enjoyable ride. I'll just wrap up this segment by saying it's a fun show to shut your brain off to. Stop taking things so seriously and enjoy Girlfriend for what it is. A tier. Finally, Aquatope and Remake Our Life. 2 very different stories, but with similar overarching themes. In Aquatope, Fuka finds herself on an island after quitting her dream and leaving Tokyo. She meets Kuku, who's desperately holding on to her dream of making her aquarium work. Possibly seeing some of herself in Kukuru, Fuka decides to aid her in her mission to stop the aquarium from closing. Then there's Remake Our Life. In this story, main character Kyoya originally took the safe route in life, attending a more traditional university over his dream art school. After then failing to maintain a stable job in the game industry, he's suddenly given a second chance when he wakes up 10 years prior with his memories intact. Why did I lump such different shows together? They both handle the tough subject of chasing your hopes and dreams. It's something I've thought a lot about lately, so both shows greatly affected me. It can be really difficult to chase your dreams. The real world isn't like anime. There are no second chances, so taking a bet on yourself can be really risky. However, if these animes teach you anything, it should be that while you're young, bet on yourself. While it might not work out, it's far easier to fail when you're younger and have less responsibility. You'll never know until you try. While I'm less young than a lot of you, I'm trying to keep this in mind while transitioning from TikTok to YouTube. Aquatope and Remake Our Life both get placed in my personal S tier. Anyways, that's the video. I'm sure editing this was probably a nightmare for me, so I'd appreciate it if you supported me by liking, commenting, subscribing, ringing that bell. Like I said before, I'm trying to put myself out there and expand to YouTube, so I'd greatly appreciate it if you could support me on this journey. And I will see you next time for a new episode of Q and Sway.